If you've been enjoying R4E, the Reason for Everything podcast, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all platforms or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's do it, man. Well, look, first of all, extremely appreciative of your time in advance here and excited to dig in. I think the name of the show is pretty straightforward, but I love talking to people like yourself who've had, cool life stories from the outside looking in and wanting to unpack that a little bit further. I've always been a firm believer that, things are happening for you and not to you. And, I've wanted to use this platform to share that with my audience because it's so easy to, move through your day to day thinking that, the world is conspiring against you. And in reality, it's all part of what you make it up here. At least in my opinion, that's what I'm convincing myself of, at least. And so, huge fan of Bash. My
Nice.
sister has taken me there a bunch, and I lived in Arlington for a few years, and just a big fan of yours. So I wanted to learn more about you, and excited to jump in.
I appreciate all that. Thanks a lot. And I'm going to try to convince myself the same thing you're convincing yourself, because it's been rough in retail lately, and we can talk more about that as we go. I feel the same way. So excited to be here, and thanks for rescheduling at least twice. I know we rescheduled, so I appreciate you accommodating that.
Hey, it's all good, especially the universe that you float in. I imagine there's a handful of fire drills at all times that you're dealing with, so completely understand and completely get it. Today's guest is Scott Parker, a serial entrepreneur, and I'm really excited to learn more about you and your journey, Scott. I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, but I wanted to start off with a quote that I love, and it's the best way to get to where you want to be is to speak to someone who's already there and learn from them. And I've always wanted to be a entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur at that, and so I want to learn a little bit more about you and your journey, but we'll have to give you a chance to introduce yourself to my audience so we can go from there.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me. As you said, my name's Scott. I live and work in Arlington, Virginia, where I've been for 17 years after graduating from James Madison University. And I guess I would describe myself as a serial retail or a service retail entrepreneur. So I do things like restaurants, bars, barbershops, have a fitness company called Bash Boxing. We have a small dog daycare chain called Playful Pack, and we actually just opened up a cat hotel called Cozy Cat Suites. So I try to work in retail where most of it is where you're coming to have some sort of an experience. You're not going to buy, retail products for the most part, but you're going to get a haircut or have a great workout or have a good meal or, get your dog taken care of, stuff like that.
I love it. And I was thinking about this before we started recording, and to your point about experiences, my friends and I talk about this all the time as we're thinking about, what businesses do we want to start down the road? And again, especially in today's day and age with the, fast twitch, scrolling and quick dopamine hits that we're all used to, what I think is so valuable about the businesses that you've created is the place to create experiences with friends and family. And I don't know if you believe in karma or all the universal magic that's out there, or if not, but I think that there has to be some positive momentum coming your way for all of the positive experiences that you provide to people on a day-to-day basis. And maybe it's just spiritual coffee talk on a Saturday morning that's gotten me. But I'm thinking about, all the fun times I've had with my friends at Bronson or Don Tito's or wherever else. And, and I'm just one of the many. So let's dive into maybe your journey a little bit further. So to your point, you're a James Madison Duke. There's a ton of you. I went to Virginia Tech. There's a ton of Hokies and Dukes in Arlington. For all my friends that are listening who have, like I said, spent a ton of time at Bronson and Don Tito's and Bash and all of your other shops. Like I said, I've been a huge Bash fan for a while. My sister converted me. I'm one of the converted. But would love to learn a little bit more about your journey. So what context would be helpful for us to know about, maybe before your time graduating or before your time at JMU, and then what got you into the real world to start these businesses?
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to give a little life story. So I grew up in Summers Point is my hometown. It's in southern New Jersey, towards the bottom, near the water, near the beach. And I grew up working in restaurants, a lot of seafood restaurants, a couple breakfast shops. I was working in restaurants when I was 14 years old. I started off as a dishwasher. From there, I became a short order cook. I was a busboy, a server, a bartender, valet parking manager. most jobs in the restaurant industry. And then I went to JMU, and at JMU, I was surely a party boy of sorts. I was a member of Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity, SIGEP, and I ended up being the social chair there. So my job really was to throw parties, organize parties, and I also was the rush chair at the same time. So my job was to recruit new rushes, try to build the numbers and get more people into the fraternity. Took me about 5 years to get out of JMU instead of 4. And I went back to Atlantic City area in Summers Point, my hometown. I was there for about a year, and there was not a lot of jobs, really struggling job market. I was sort of waiting tables again. I was actually working at a gas station pumping gas, because there, you don't pump your own, someone pumps it for you. And my dad was kind of in my ear saying, man, you got to get to a city. You got to go to a city. There's more opportunity. And about 8 or 9 of my good buds from JMU had all moved to Arlington, and they were all saying, come down, you got to check it out. So I went down. The job market obviously was really impressive. The fun was really just as impressive. They were all going to the bars in DC and Clarendon and all around Arlington and that stuff. So I was pumped on that. So I gave it a shot. And when I first moved to Arlington in 2006, I started off selling insurance for Liberty Mutual, and I was selling auto, home, and life insurance. And I wasn't feeling it from the beginning. I had to wear a suit every day to work. I really wasn't that excited about selling people auto and home insurance policies every day. And I was pretty miserable pretty quick. At this time, I'm probably 24 years old. And I don't know how I got the idea or where it came from, but I got it in my mind that I wanted to be a bar owner. And I had no money at the time. And this is back to 2006. So there wasn't as much buzz around investors or venture capital or private equity back then. People really weren't talking about that stuff. And I was just a kid from New Jersey. I didn't know how to get an investor. Or I didn't even know that many people in the area at that time. So I just decided I was going to start saving the money myself. So from 24 to 30, I kept a day job. I had various day jobs. I was never that good at them. I was either getting fired from one or jumping into another one. But on top of that, I also waited tables about 6 nights a week. And where I worked for the most part for 4 years was Morton's, the steakhouse in DC. And so I was kind of using my daytime money to get by and saving all that money from Morton's. By the time I got to be almost 30, I approached these 2 guys I knew in Arlington who actually owned a restaurant called Caribbean Breeze, where Bronson Beer Hall now is. And I said, guys, I saved about $125,000. I want to dump it into a bar or restaurant and see if I can do this thing. I'm going to give it a shot. And it was just good timing, because they're still my partners on a couple projects to this day. And they said, yeah, Caribbean Breeze has seen better days. It's been here 8 years. We want to do something else. We want to do an American bar. We want to do a sports bar. We want to do a party bar type thing. And so we partnered up on that, and we created a place that was called A-Town, A-Town Bar and Grill. It opened in August of 2012. And A-Town had a rough first month because I was naive then. I didn't realize how slow the DC area is in August. So I was freaking out. A-Town started really slow. I thought I was going to lose my life savings. I had put my house up. I had put my car up to get a loan to put some more money into the business. I put my $125,000 that I had saved 4 years waiting tables. And we're having a slow first month, but we're working hard at it. We're trying to throw parties and get people excited and promote the weekend nightlife stuff. And then when people came back from summer and fall really kicked in, A-Town was just a rocket ship. It absolutely exploded. It was packed just about every night. I remember 2 or 3 months into A-Town, I was sitting down with a liquor rep, and they have the data on, what bars in the state of Virginia are selling the most. And they're showing me like, hey, here's this place in Arlington. Here's this place in Arlington. And they're flipping through and they're flipping through and they're flipping through. And I'm like, well, where's A-Town? And finally, he gets to the second page, and A-Town is in second place in the entire state of Virginia, only behind some event center, like some giant hotel or something in Virginia Beach. And like my eyes are wide, like, wow, we're the busiest bar in the state of Virginia right now. And the guy's like, yeah. And I was absolutely shocked, but thrilled, obviously. I had gone from, a year before that, I was trying to buy like 10% of my buddy's dive bar that he was opening. I couldn't get a deal anywhere. And then finally I got the A-Town deal. And then 3 or 4 months into A-Town, we're the busiest bar in the state of Virginia. I mean, my head was exploding. And so A-Town ended up lasting 7 years, and then it turned into Bronson Beer Hall. But along the way of those 7 years, maybe 1 or 2 years in, I started thinking to myself, what else can I do? I never thought I'd be this successful in bars. So maybe I can do something else. I just wanted to try a bar. And then from there, I started trying other stuff. And I had a lot of flops along the way. The first thing I tried was vape shops back when vaping had first come out. And I did 4 of those with some partners. Those did not do well. My second restaurant was called Flatiron Steak and Saloon in Old Town Alexandria. It did just okay. We ended up turning it into a taco shop that we've now had for 7 years. That's done really well. And then from there, again, I just started trying other things. And my model has really been to find people who are experts in their industry that want to open a business and want a business partner, but they don't know how to do everything. They just know their expertise. So along the way, a guy that was an expert in dogs approached me about dog daycare. We started a dog daycare brand. Alex Trakis, who is a star in the fitness space, she wanted to do a fitness brand. We started Bash Boxing. And then Beard to Go Barber is another example. 2 guys, Eric and John, approached me. They had been cutting hair for over 20 years and really wanted to do a barber shop together. And so we launched Beard to Go Barber, and that brand is on absolute fire. We're getting ready to open our 4th shop next year. It's really been all about finding good people that need partners, and they can do, John and Eric are fantastic at running barber shops and cutting hair. And I can do the legal, accounting, marketing, brand building, website, customer service stuff. And that's sort of my model now. Fast forward to today, I'm a partner in, I think, currently 28 stores across, different platforms. We've got eight dog daycares at this point, 3 barbershops, 4 Bash Boxing locations, I think 7 restaurants and bars right now. So 28 stores in all. It's an up and down roller coaster ride. They're not all doing well. Out of those 28, I think probably 24, 25 are profitable right now. 3 we're trying to figure out and get them to profitability. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been an incredible 11 years, and that's where I am today.
So cool. And thanks for walking us through that. Starting with A-Town, I guess I graduated school in 19. I turned 21 in like 16 or 17. And so I just missed A-Town, but I still hear the whispers of it from some of my older friends, my older brother, because I know so many people that had a good time there right out of school. And to your point, right when that fall rush really kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it in Arlington now. I don't know if there ever will be again. We really designed it to be just the most raucous, crazy party bar that you can have, and it was that. In the first 3 or 4 years, we were slammed Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. But then what really put us over the edge was we were slammed for Sunday Fun Day. Sundays, we would do 1,500, 2,000 people. The party would start around 12 o'clock when brunch starts, and it wouldn't end until 10 or 11 p.m. So, if you think about going out on a Friday night and a bar is busy for 2 or 3 hours, A-Town was busy on Sundays for really 9 or 10 hours. You're talking about full volume, absolutely packed, 1,000 people, champagne, fireworks, sparklers, all types of costumes, 5 or 6 DJs on a given Sunday, NFL games. We used to have just all kinds of people coming through there, all kinds of stuff going on. It was the wildest thing I've ever been a part of. And people, it's all about what you're in it for, right? People will always say, I always hear entrepreneurs talking about money, right? And what's your number? How much do you want to retire and all this? And I've never really thought that way. And I always tell people my challenge now is that, I'm 41 and I'm still doing a lot of great companies. I'm building new pet companies with my family, and I'm building new restaurants and bars with my partners, and Beard to Go Barber and Bash. It's all great. It's a blast. But the challenge I have now is I could open 500 businesses the rest of my life. I'm never going to open something that was as much fun as A-Town. I mean, I had just turned 30 at that time. I made hundreds and hundreds of new friends there. I had so many people that talk about it. I have multiple people that when I see them out, they will tell me with a straight face, and I can't even believe it. And they'll say man, I just want you to know, A-Town was the best time of my life. And I'm like, well, what about college? What about this? They're like, nah, man, there was nothing like A-Town. And so it was really iconic. It was really fun. I miss it a lot. But it's just something that was so fun over the years.
It's so cool. It's like I said earlier, it's special that you were able to create those memories for so many people. I'm hoping that the people that said that A-Town changed their life or was the best thing to happen to them weren't walking up to you with their wife and kids or husband and kids. But you never.
We see a lot.
You never know.
It's funny. We see a lot of that. The same people who were coming into A-Town and ripping shots and partying are now coming into Bronson with a dog and a stroller and like setting their kid up on the patio and getting a pretzel and slowly having a beer. And I'm like, yeah, 7 years ago, you were in here taking 4 shots of Fireball and dancing on a table. And it's just funny to see all that evolve. And we've had countless, A-Town and Don Tito have had countless marriages come out of them. Some people are proud of that. Some people are not that proud of that. Like, yeah, I've heard girls say before, like, yeah, I met my husband at A-Town, but I don't say that, just because of A-Town was very polarizing. Some people loved it. Some people didn't love it. And so, yeah, it's a funny thing. We also have, it's been 11 years since A-Town opened. So for better or worse, there are now a fair amount of A-Town divorces as well. And, marriages that didn't work out, but it was a hell of a ride.
One of the interesting things for me, I guess my corollary for, the A-Town fall when it really kicked up for you guys in fall of 2021, I guess it was, right when everyone, the pandemic was kind of calming down, people were starting to be able to go out. Masks were, less of a thing. Restaurants were really opening back up. You gave my cousin Kahan the opportunity to DJ on the rooftop on Thursday nights for a couple of weeks in a row. And we would just pack with all of our friends. And that was, again, because I graduated school, I had like that first fall of 2019. I had a couple months in 2020, and then boom, pandemic happened. So I guess it was fall of 21 is right when it was effectively like my, entry back into the real world. And we had some of the most fun times. Again, same thing. Some of the fun times, rooftop at Don Tito's, it was a very random crowd for a Thursday night, but it was like our core group of friends. And again, I'll look back on it with nothing but fond memories. I always walk past it and just always kind of chuckle to myself.
That's awesome, man. I love that kid. I didn't know Kahan was your cousin. I love that guy. I always tell him, I'm like, Kahan, you're like the young Diplo of Northern Virginia, because every time I pull up my Instagram, he's in Toronto, he's in New York City, he's in LA, he's playing here, he's at this festival. I'm like, dude, if you can keep up this energy for the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to go global, because he pushes it so hard. And I was really thankful to have him do that. And, it was funny when he did that for a while. And then finally he told me one day, he's like, Scott, like I really love being here at Don Tito, but now I got to move on. And I was kind of trying to convince him because he was doing so well and promoting it so well. So I guess your group of friends. And I'm like, man, are you sure you don't want to stay? Like, are you just going to, I thought he was just going to, go try to play other bars and clubs around the DC metro area. And so I'm like, are you sure you don't want to stay? Can I offer you anything to make you stay? I love having you. He's like, nah, I want to try other stuff. And once I saw him go out there into the world, I realized why he didn't want to stay. It really wasn't about Don Tito. It's that he wanted to be all over the board. I think he's playing Atlantic City this weekend, right? And so he wanted to be all over the place, and the respect. But I'm glad you had some good times at A-Town with your crew, man. That's great to hear. I mean, Don Tito.
Yeah,
Don Tito. Yeah.
No, I got you. I know what you mean. My A-Town, I guess.
Yeah, your A-Town.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you have 28 locations you mentioned. Obviously, you can't pick a favorite. Is there what's one that I guess excites you the most right now? There's a couple of different businesses in that that you're working through. What excites you the most? What is most motivating for you right now?
Yeah, from a food and beverage standpoint, I would definitely say Bronson, just because when A-Town was closing, it had a great 7-year run, and we were nervous about turning it into a beer hall. It's not easy to change concepts like that, right? And the doubts were out. People were saying like, oh, they'll never be able to make A-Town into something else. It's too branded. A-Town was too iconic. People are over A-Town. No one wants to party in that area anymore. A beer hall will never work here. And when we launched Bronson, it launched 3 months before the pandemic. So it had like an okay 3 months, then obviously was slowed during the pandemic. And then from there, we were terrified. I was like, man, is this thing going to make it? We just signed a new lease. We just invested a ton of money. And Bronson had a slow build over probably 2 years, from 2020 to 2022. That was incredible, just building and building and building. And then by the time it got to 2022 and all the way to now, it is just absolutely slammed. Bronson is busy every night of the week. Saturdays, it's busy all day. Sundays, it's busy all day. It's busy for sports. It's busy for live music. We have live musicians every day of the week, acoustic acts and singers. And just to be able to sort of launch something there like A-Town and then have it die, which was tough for me. It was my first baby, and it was hard to let it go. And then turn it into Bronson and have, not as many people believe in it and wonder if it was going to work. And then have it, the pandemic, and then have it slowly over time become this massive success that right now Bronson is just over 4 years old, and it's doing better than it's ever done. And it looks like 2024 is going to be even bigger than it's been so far. Has just been really energizing and really made me realize kind of what we were talking about before when you and I first started talking of, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen and you feel like you're going through hell, but brighter days are on the way, and you're going to get to where you want to be. And kind of what you said, things are happening, for you, not against you. And when Bronson first opened, I was freaking out. And now I'm like, man, I kind of need to take that as a lesson, because I have 28 stores. They're, like I said, they're not all doing well. But I need to learn from the Bronson example that some things that are not doing well are going to eventually do well and crush. And so right now, from a food and beverage standpoint, Bronson's really got me the most excited. Outside of food and beverage, I absolutely love, Bash Boxing and Bearded Goat Barber. But I just launched a company last week with my family in Herndon called Cozy Cat Suites. And so what it is it's a cat boarding facility, because we're also in the dog daycare space, but it's a cat boarding facility, and it's all suites. So instead of a cat being in a little box, every cat has its own room, its own suite. And it's already taken off like a rocket ship. And these cat lovers and cat owners are coming in and getting their cats groomed and booking suites. And my sister-in-law, Alyssa, did an incredible job with the design of the spaces. And so they're like these beautiful rooms. One's the jungle room, one's the outer space room, one's the city room, the garden room. And so these cat owners come, they're blown away by it. And why we're so excited about it is there's not too many brands like it in the market nationwide. There's a lot of barbershops, there's a lot of group fitness, there's a lot of restaurants and bars, but there's not a lot of cat suite concepts. And so we really feel like we're on the forefront of something here. And so that one's got me really excited in what I'm doing outside of food and beverage.
I love it. Yeah, when I was doing prep for when we had our conversation initially scheduled, I didn't see Cozy Cat on your website. And then all of a sudden I'm scrolling down yesterday. I'm like, holy cow, another one dropped even since a couple weeks when we had rescheduled for.
Yeah, man. I'm just trying different stuff. All the people I see, I always tell people this, the people I see that make it big, every entrepreneur is opening something and trying hard, right? And so maybe some entrepreneurs are more talented than others, sure. But everybody's opening something or starting a business and they're working hard at it. But the people I really see make it are really the people that try the right idea at the right time. And so I'm always telling my friends and would-be entrepreneurs, like, dude, if you have an idea, just try it. I mean, it's not really up to you. The success is not fully up to you. You can do your best. You can try your hardest. You can work 18 hours a day. But the market and the world is going to tell you, what is going to be successful and what's not. And, cats are sort of in a place now where everyone knows pets are expanding. Pet care is expanding. If you look at the data on how many billions are spent on pets, it's gone up and up and up and up for like 15, 20 years in a row, and it's continuing to go up. And so cat owners are kind of in this place where they feel neglected. They feel like everything's about the dogs, everything's about, the other animals, and they haven't gotten what, the attention they deserve. And so me and my brother and his sister-in-law are sitting around like a year and a half ago, and we saw one of these like far away in the country, but then we started Googling and there wasn't that many. And we're like, maybe we should just try this and see what happens. And it's already on fire. It's doing really well. And so I'm always telling that to entrepreneurs. I'm like, if you have an idea and you think it's far-fetched, just try it. Because if you're right, you're going to be one of the only people that's right, and you're going to absolutely murder it. And, my challenge has been, I've done a lot of stuff that's been done 10,000 times, but we're really excited about Cozy Cat Suites as it's something that really hasn't been done that much before.
Yeah, super fascinating. And to your point, there's, blueprints for successful restaurants and bars and, even barbershops for that matter. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'm excited to see how you guys grow and expand that further. And to that end, I mean, I'd love to know what a typical day in the life for you looks like, right? Like are you running from, the cat hoteling to, and then changing your clothes to make sure the cat are not on, you run into the barbershop, or I guess you keep, like, what does that actually look like operationally, mechanically for someone that's, spread a mile wide?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I always get asked that. So of course, we're always working on preparing what is about to open. We're always most working on what's new. Our goal, like most people, is to put great leaders and managers in place and give them the power and the ability to make decisions on their own. So, looking at an example like we were just talking about, Bronson Beer Hall, I have 3 partners there, and we're all engaged daily. We talk daily, but we've got an incredible team there. Danny, the GM, is a young guy. He does great. His manager, Eric, is great. The bartender team, I would argue, is the best bartender team in the DMV. The food runners and utility guys that really handle all the logistics and keep the restaurant clean and the operations. They've been with us since the A-Town days, so 12 years ago. And then the chef Ramon is amazing too. So there's not that much for us to do, but think about the brand, make high level decisions. If I was to spend, 50 hours a week in Bronson really wouldn't benefit that much from that. And so that's an example of where we're putting great leaders in place and trying to, give them the free will to make good decisions and run things well. And that's really been our path to success. So for me, a great majority of my time, I always tell people I'm either studying the industries, studying the brands, or I'm communicating with my managers. So we're watching what's going on. We're watching customer service feedback constantly, checking online reviews, polling our customers, putting our emails out there. For Playful Pack Dog Daycare, we constantly are letting customers know you can email owners at Playful Pack anytime if you have a concern. And so we're always trying to stay engaged with our customer base, with whoever's out there. And then once I'm getting that data, I'm studying the brand, I'm studying the industry, I'm studying the customer feedback, obviously studying the numbers. Once we're getting that data, then we're reaching back out to the managers on a daily basis or a weekly basis, whenever we have a meeting, and letting them know the things that we're seeing and that we're doing. And then on top of that, of course, there's a lot of store visits. I'm probably in 4 to 5 of my stores per day. But it all depends. Another example would be Annapolis for our Playful Pack Dog Daycare and Boarding. Our manager, Mickey, has been there for 5 years. And then our regional manager, Michael, was there before her for 6 years. They have that location on lockdown. I mean, they know it inside out. They know everything that they need to do to make it successful. So there, we probably stop by, once a month, as opposed to every day. Something newer, like I'm wearing my little branding hat here, which I didn't do for a branding play, but my hair was all messed up this morning, so I just put it on. But this is Westover Taco. It's a tiny little taqueria in a really cute neighborhood in Arlington called Westover. That place has been open for only, I want to say, 3.5 weeks, maybe coming up on 4 weeks. So that's a place where we're stopping by a lot more. My partners and I are going by probably 3 to 4 nights a week, hour or two, checking in on stuff. But then again, we're already seeing the benefits of our managing partner, Sarah White. She's absolutely crushing it. She has the whole place on lock. So it's good for me. It's easy for me to have a great leader in place, because that's another place where I'm like, all right, Westover Taco is in a great place now and doing well. And my only time stopping by this weekend or this week was with my girlfriend to go in and eat some tacos and make sure the food is where it needs to be. And that's really it. It's easy. It's fun. We stop through. We have some tacos. I say hi to everybody, and we're out the door in 45 minutes. And I feel good about my business. I feel good about the tacos too. They're on fire. So it's a lot of studying the game. It's a lot of studying the industry and what's going on with our brands, and then communicating with managers via Zoom, phone call, email, whatever, and then going into stores from time to time and checking on stores as well.
You mentioned, industry research and staying up to date and, figuring out what the latest and greatest is. What does that look like for you? Are you, reading what Dave Grutman and those folks put out online? What does that, mechanically look like for you to stay up to date on industry trends?
A little bit of that. I mean, I have seen, and I like the King of Miami. I know who that guy is, but I don't, he's kind of in his own world with mega clubs and stuff like that. So definitely not someone I study too much. It's a lot of for me, it's a lot of Googling, new restaurant trends, new taco restaurants, reading magazines on dog daycare and grooming and stuff like that. It's really just gathering intel anywhere I can from the web. There might be a little Instagram on there. There might be a little bit of social media to follow for certain people. But as opposed to looking at, like guys that run mega clubs in Miami, I'm looking more at people that run, other dog daycare brands around the DC metro area, or people that run other taco spots around the DC metro area, and kind of, studying what they do and seeing what I can glean from that.
Yeah, certainly. And I see your Whoop on camera here now, and maybe that's a good segue to Bash and, the fitness space. I think a huge thing, especially in, this post-pandemic world, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's an interesting benchmark for someone in your position as a restaurateur who has kind of seen both sides of it and, the changes before and after, the diversification with things like Bash and, exposing yourself to the fitness industry and diversifying there, I'm sure is an interesting trend, especially given, how many people are drinking mocktails now and how people's relationship with alcohol is changing so much. So what was it like for you getting Bash started? There's kind of a dichotomy between what you're doing at Bash and also what you're doing at Bronson or Don Tito, for example. What does that look like for you, and how are you promoting, both brands at the same time? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. And I'd love to touch on the alcohol thing first about what you just said, because we are in dry January right now. And I tell my partners this all the time, and people think I'm crazy, but I think alcohol is going to die. I think, this is the analogy I always draw to people is if you and I were having this conversation in a restaurant somewhere 50 years ago, the restaurant would be full of smoke and everyone in the whole place would be smoking and there'd be cigarettes everywhere. And if I said to you at that time, you know what, man, 50 years from now, cigarettes are going to be on the fringe. Not a lot of people are going to smoke cigarettes. It's not going to be a big thing. You might say, that's crazy. Cigarettes are going to be here forever. Everyone smokes. Everyone loves cigarettes, right? But now look at it today. I mean, I almost don't know anyone that smokes. And as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, you'd see 20 people outside a bar smoking a cigarette. Now you see one or you see none, right? And I think alcohol is going to go the same way. And I warn that to my partners and restaurant partners. I tell them, make your money on bars now, make your money on alcohol now, because 10, 15, 20 years from now, I do not think we're going to see binge drinking the way it is. I do not think we're going to see party bars the way that we do. I think there will still be things like wineries and breweries and hopefully beer halls like Bronson where people go and have a few beers. But I think that alcohol is going to die a slow death or maybe a quick death. If you look at the data, and I can't reference anything specifically, but if you look at the data on dry January, it is exploding. Every year, more people do dry January. It grows over and over and over again. And what's even crazier is more and more people stick with it. So people do dry January and they say, you know what, I'm going to do February and March too. I have my cousin's husband. He did dry January last year. He hasn't had a drink since. He's done. And I think that people are waking up. I think people are realizing with alcohol that we're poisoning ourselves. I personally am almost 14 years sober. I was a hardcore alcoholic. I went through AA, all that stuff. I think alcohol is finished and people just don't realize it yet. And people have always seen it around. It's a big part of our society. And so people are saying, when I tell people that, they tell me I'm crazy. You're nuts. That's not going to happen. But it's already happening. And if you look at the data on college kids and young people, they don't care as much. They're into experiences. They want to travel. They want to go to Greece. They want to go run a marathon. They want to do a Tough Mudder. They want to do things like this. They want to go hiking. Or they're gamers. They want to play video games. They want to be online. Alcohol is losing its luster very quickly. And so I'm telling that to all my partners. And that's just a word to the wise. Again, people can think I'm wrong. People can think that 20 years from now, people are going to be ripping shots in bars and chugging beers. I don't see it happening. I think it's going down. And I even know, my buddy Fritz Brogan, who owns the Mission Group in DC, a bunch of big bars, great dude. And he sees it, along the same lines as me. He's like, dude, people are changing. Young people are changing, and things are a little bit different now than what they were. But I'm passionate about that, and so that's a segue. But yeah, Bash, it's something great about being able to provide a service where people really get something out of it that enhances their life. When we talked about A-Town was great. It was wild, but I can't tell you how many people would tell me, like, I'd see them around and they'd say, like, Scott, like, listen, man, like, I can't come to Sunday Fun Day anymore. I missed work 4 times this year. Every Monday morning, I hate my life. I want to kill myself. So, I'm done, Scott. I can't do A-Town anymore. And so, like, in some ways, it's like I'm giving a person a place to have a lot of fun, but I'm already also screwing their life up a little bit, right? Bash is the opposite of that. We have had so many people be so happy about what they get from Bash, whether it's, physical. Oh, I got in better shape. I feel better. Or whether it's mental, hey, man, we've had people say, I lost a family member and I was in the darkest time of my life and I started going to Bash 5 days a week and you don't know how much it helped me. I was going through a divorce and I started going to Bash all the time and it really changed my life. We've had people, I don't even know what the count is. I think there's a young woman who has taken Bash over 2,000 times. I know there's multiple people who have taken Bash boxing over 1,500 times, tons who have taken 500 times, a bunch who have taken 1,000 times. I myself am over 500 classes, I believe. So yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing to be able to provide something that is giving people real value. They can build their strength, they can build their cardiovascular endurance, and they can make themselves happier and healthier by going to Bash, as opposed to one of my bars where they might go and black out and wake up the next day and don't know where their wallet is. And it's fun, but it's not adding that value the way that Bash is.
Super interesting, and appreciate the candor around that. I think what I'm excited to see the future of for Bronson and Don Tito, and you see it now with people like the long beer hall style tables. I mean, I think there's good reason why it's existed for why beer halls have existed for so long. For example, it's that sense of community,
Yeah.
and I think in this digital world that we're living in, there's a necessary place in society for communion and community style places like restaurants and bars. The relationship with alcohol will be interesting to see how that shifts over the couple of years. The cigarettes analogy is super fascinating. I've never heard that before, but I think you're going to be spot on to your point. The data is screaming it at us, and I think people are just starting to wake up to that, thanks to people like Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia and the folks that are out there, waving their hands, saying, "Hey guys, this is obvious out here in the data." And I'm really curious to see, to your point, how long it'll actually take, what that tail looks like for it to be socialized further than people that are active and healthy today.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I agree with everything you just said. And the tricky part for restaurant and bar owners like us is the margins in the alcohol, right? You can make a lot of money on the alcohol. But my restaurant group, my food group is in a place now where we don't have any, we opened 3 places this year. One we already closed. It really struggled in DC, in a rough neighborhood. And we don't have anything on the horizon right now that we're going to open. And one of my partners, he wants to do a big breakfast concept, like a giant full service breakfast restaurant, sort of like a Snooze. There's a brand called Snooze out on the West Coast. And he came to me and he's like, "Look, if we open this, we don't have to get a liquor license. We don't have to have a bar in the place. It's just a big dining room. We're just doing this." And he's not as keen on me as the end of alcohol or the end of binge drinking, but he's telling me this, and I'm like, yes, let's look at stuff like this where it's a unique way to serve and sell food, because like I said, I worry about it. And the more that alcohol is a part of your brand, the bigger problem I think you have. If you are just a nightclub operator and all you sell is alcohol and you sell nothing else but alcohol, I think you're in trouble. You might not be in trouble this year. You might not be in trouble next year. But 10 years from now, in 2034, I think you're going to be in big trouble, because I don't think people are going to pay $300 for a bottle of vodka so that they can chug it with their friends and poison themselves. And, you're exactly right. I mean, I've seen the Andrew Hubermans of the world, and I've seen, you can see people waking up. You can feel it. If there's anyone, if we talk to our parents, right, and we ask our parents, "Hey, if I ask my dad, hey, when you were 41 like me, Dad, how many people did you know that had either given up alcohol totally, severely cut back, gone totally sober?" And I think, my dad probably would have said almost none. And what's been interesting to me is I've had a bunch of friends now, I want to say at least 5 or 6, who were not like me. They weren't problem drinkers. They weren't alcoholics. They had it under control. They might go out 2 nights a week and have 7 or 8 drinks, right? So they're not drinking 20 drinks. They're not fall down drunk, but they woke up over time and they are done drinking. And one of my friends, my buddy Neil, lives down in Miami, and he said, "You know what, man? I read a couple books about it, and I really realized that at the end of the day, with alcohol, I'm poisoning my brain, I'm poisoning my body, and what am I getting out of it? 2 or 3 hours of fun." It's the truth, and I think we're all waking up to it. I think there's going to be a challenge going forward if you just want to serve booze, and I'm more keen to try to do other stuff that is not based around alcohol going forward. I don't know if I'll ever open a new party bar, a A-Town or a Don Tito, where it's all about ripping it super hard. I think if I do more in food and beverage, which I don't know how soon I will, I think I'll do more food focused, more unique food concepts, because I think people are waking up, and I think times are going to change big time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll hopefully be able to look back on this conversation in many years and be like, "Hey, look, this is the prediction live in action here." I mean, I think I can't, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's something along the lines of, alcohol is the only drug where people, look at you funny if you don't do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And people always say that, man. I feel bad for people because they say like, I really don't want to drink, but I don't know, what I'm going to say to people. People are going to pressure me. And it's so deep in our culture. When I first got sober in the year 2000, 2010 now, when I first got sober, I would agonize over how am I going to go to weddings and not drink? How am I going to go through Christmas holiday and not drink? How am I going to go to Thanksgiving dinner? A lot of people in my family drink and not drink. Birthdays, celebrations, how am I going to do these things and not drink when everyone else is drinking? And that's we're people are social creatures, right? We care about what other people around us are doing. We care about how our friends are celebrating, and we want to be there with them. We want to do it with them. And I think that's what people have agonized over. And I think what we're seeing now is the turning of the tide. And it's a matter of time. I mean, if you think about it, if there's 50 people at a party and 10 years ago, only 1 or 2 were not drinking, and 5 years ago, 4 or 5 are not drinking, and now 10 or 15 are not drinking, well, how much time does it take until that number becomes the majority? And then once it gets to 25 or 30 people are not drinking out of the group, well, what the hell is it? What's next? Next thing you know, it's 40 or 45. And next thing you know, there's only 1 or 2 people at the party drinking, and everyone else is not drinking. And I think, I don't know how far we want to go into this, but I think another thing that is very telling is the rise of legal marijuana and the rise of psychedelics. People are learning that, it used to be when I was, 21, 20 years ago, if you were doing mushrooms, you were doing mushrooms because you wanted to trip and lose your fucking mind, right? But now I'm not going to do a whole pack of mushrooms. I'm going to do a little cap, or I'm going to do a little stem, or I'm going to do a little mushroom chocolate. And that's going to give me a body buzz and a mental buzz, and it's going to make me feel good. I'm going to feel great, almost as if I did another drug, or almost as if I did some alcohol. But the next day, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel clear. My mind's going to be clear. And so I think both things are happening at the same time very rapidly, and people do not realize it. At the same time that people are realizing that alcohol, how bad it is for us, they're also getting access to all these new natural drugs that can make them feel just as good and doesn't fuck their life up the next day. And so I think we're seeing all of that happen at the same time. And I think it's going to happen faster than even me and we're talking about, I do still think about it in decades, but man, if we see a drastic change within the next 7 or 8 years, I don't think we can even be surprised, because people are just waking up so quickly, and there's so many other options to have a good time and, get a little banged up without taking shots. And it's all going to change.
Super insightful. I've listened to a lot of stuff in this ecosystem, and I've never heard what you said, which is, the decline in alcohol consumption with the increase in, other sorts of drugs like cannabis and psychedelics. And I've been shocked, going out to restaurants and bars and seeing how many people have, Alice chocolates or whatever it is, that are going out there and having their mushroom chocolates or whatever other psychedelics. And I've never thought about that inflection point that's going to occur between the two, because one's rapidly increasing, one's rapidly decreasing. So super interesting. Yeah,
it's crazy, bro. I hear the same thing, dude. I can be in Don Tito on a Friday night, which I'm not that much anymore in my old age. But I can be in Don Tito. If I am on a Friday night, I'll even hear it just around me, like either people I know or people I don't even know. Someone saying, "Hey, you want to get a drink? You want this?" Like, no, I took some chocolates. No, I took some chocolates. Or, hey, you want to do a shot? Yeah, no, I took a stem, or I took a couple caps, a couple mushroom caps. And so now you have, again, like just a random example. If there were 150 people on the second floor of Don Tito, 7 years ago, and all of them are drinking, well, now you've got 150 people on the second floor of Don Tito, and 15 are on mushrooms, and 5 smoked a joint before they came in or took some edibles. And, now you only got 130 drinkers left, right? So how long does it take for those inflection points to cross? And I think it's anyone's guess, but I think people are going to be shocked in how fast it happens, and how, whatever number of years it is, how many numbers a year it is from now, how it all happened.
To go full tinfoil hat here for the sake of, like I said, a Saturday morning coffee conversation, I think, especially given the political climate today and seeing how the next couple of years shake out with, I think we're we're seeing this too. I think it's those two things of the rise in psychedelics and cannabis, the decrease in alcohol consumption with the current political climate. I think we're at a point where, this kind of old wave, the old guard of politicians that are, in their last couple of terms, as they start to step out too, and you have, people your age who are in office who are running for president who are, just as hip to some of this stuff as you are here. I think it's just going to be a perfect storm. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, but I love talking about this because I think the trends here are really cool to just sit back on the sidelines and watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love talking about it too. And I agree with what you said. And someone said to me, and I think they had it wrong, but someone said to me, yeah, I agree with you. I think we're going to see people start to drink less and less. And what they said was, they said, yeah, I think the young crowd will always drink, but then like as people get older, they'll learn and they'll stop. And I said, I think it's exactly the other way around. I think the young crowd is going to not be attracted to drinking or blacking out or keg parties or, binge drinking. And I think it's the old crowd, the people that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old right now, that have been drinking for, their decades and decades, that are going to cling to it, keep buying drinks at bars, restaurants, keep drinking at their homes, keep drinking at festivals and all that stuff. But I think it's the other way around. I think the young crowd are the ones that are going to come up and say, like, why would we want that? We have so many different ways to experience life now. We have so many things with technology that can hold our attention. We have so many things. We have such an easy ability to travel now. If you think about it and you go back 3 or 4 decades, people in college were not traveling. They didn't have laptops. They didn't have video games. All they had was, beer and wine and liquor and, a jukebox or a record player to crank some music on and fire down some drinks and have a good time, right? Well, the kids of modern day have options, man. I'm mind blown when I see a young person that's 24 years old on Instagram and they've already been to 32 countries, and I'm like, how did this happen? And then I kind of got hip over time, and I realized some of these kids are traveling a ton when they're in college. Like when I was in college at JMU, no one ever traveled. Everyone was at JMU every weekend. And then on spring break, they would travel and it was all about partying. But now you see like, oh, kids are taking off school and Wednesday through Sunday, they're taking a quick trip down to Nashville or, they're heading out west to Portland. And, people are just living differently and they have different interests and they have so much more access to things that can hold their attention and entertain them than decades ago when it was like, you're not leaving your college campus, on the weekend. No one is, literally no one, maybe 1 in 1,000 people, but more or less no one. You're not leaving. You don't have the internet yet. You don't have video games. All you have is the information of who's having a party, what time are we going, where are we going to pregame, and that's what you're doing, right? And today it's like, yeah, no, I'm going to take a quick bus to New York City where I'm going to go to all the cool spots and Instagram me and my friends there. And we might go and drink a specialty cocktail at this place that we've seen on Instagram, do it for the gram, but we're not going to spend, 5 hours a night in bars chugging beers. Why the hell would we do that? We have other stuff we want to do. And so I think it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna spin people's heads, but I think we're seeing it already, and the data's out there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the point on Instagram is so on target too. I mean, even with all of these health and wellness influencers who are blowing up, and the way that you or I might have looked up to our sports hero or whoever or musical artist as a kid, it's like, hey, like you talk to a 12-year-old or a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old now, it's like, oh yeah, I like this influencer. That's who I care about, and all these influencers who are also on the same wave of, hey, health, wellness, the ins and outs for 2024. Outs is binge drinking and, staying up late, and the ins is self-care and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's something to be said about it. Even when I went back to Virginia Tech to see friends a couple of years ago, I guess this was probably 2 years ago now, just totally different. I mean, you still have, again, it's still a binge drinking culture at these schools, but some of the conversations you were hearing were very different than the sorts of things that we were talking about even a couple of years earlier.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think it's wild how fast it's happening. And, I agree with you. There's still a binge drinking culture at these schools, but it's rapidly fading. I even look at what's happening with fraternities across the nation. I mean, they're shutting down in massive numbers. years ago, fraternities were like what colleges were, or what for most people, what it was a fraternity experience. Now no one cares. And to your point on influencers, I mean, you can ask any person to rattle off, 10 fitness or health influencers, and they're going to give you the Andrew Hubermans and the David Goggins and all these people that are about pushing your body, taking care of your body, improving your body. I mean, I don't know, thinking about it myself, I don't know if I can think of even one or two. Yeah, I guess there's party influencers. There's the guy Slut Whisperer, but he's like not as popular as he once was. I think back to my college days. This is probably before your time, but there was this guy Tucker Max that was all about like partying and all that kind of stuff. But it's just not cool anymore. It's not cool to the young
Yeah,
crowd. No one's impressed by it. But thinking about ways to improve your wellness, thinking about ways to improve your body and stay healthy, that's really caught on. And everyone follows those influencers, but no one's following a party influencer that goes town to town and rips it anymore. It's an old thing.
100%. I think I was thinking about this when you were mentioning something earlier, and I was thinking about the Nelk boys, because I was like, oh, alcohol's dying, but these guys are going out and partying all the time. But then you see Kyle, the face of the franchise. He did this whole 150-day health challenge where he's like, hey, I'm drinking 1 day a week, and I have to earn it by going to the gym every single day. And part of it's their brand, right? They have a hard seltzer brand that's one of the best selling ones, as I don't have to remind you of. But even these guys, that their brand is built on partying. They're they're focused 6 days a week. Their content is focused on health and wellness, and then 1 day is going out and partying, which is just totally different world.
It's nuts. And I agree with everything you said. I'm well aware of who those guys are and who Kyle is. And Happy Dad, the seltzer, my partner. So our bar manager told me and my partner, hey, I want to bring Happy Dad in. And I'm like, sure, go for it. My partner's like, Happy Dad? What is this Happy Dad? I'm like, dude, trust me. These guys, the Nelk boys, they're huge with the young crowd. We need to carry the seltzer. You're going to see people in the bar wearing the Happy Dad hat, and it sells at Bronson. But I agree with what you said. I saw the posts on Instagram by Kyle as well too, where he and it's just it's a classic experience. He's like, I ripped it hard every weekend for too many weekends, and it made me absolutely fucking miserable. And he's like, now I'm going to only drink 1 night a week, and I'm going to stay in the gym, and I'm going to get healthy. And then he had the before and the after photo, and he basically says, I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm going to party 1 night a week. That's it. Well, those guys are smart. I'm sure they'll find a way for the brand to evolve. But how long is it going to be until 3-4 years from now, Kyle is saying, you know what, guys, I was down to 1 day a week, and it really was fun and all that stuff. And but now I've decided I'm going full sober, and I'm going to be investing all my time and energy in wellness. And lucky for a guy like him, he's still got his following, and he's still got a massive brand, so he can probably spin it to something else. Maybe soon it'll be Happy Mom, and it'll be a pre-made smoothie blend, right? Like something. But
Right.
He'll find a way to make it work. But yeah, that's the perfect example. And to your point, those guys in the past 5 or 10 years, the Nelk boys, are probably the quintessential party influencers, party bros, going school to school, throwing parties, doing beer bongs. And now he's pivoting, and everybody's pivoting. And at some point, like, people are going to have to do what the audience wants. If the Nelk boys would have stayed hardcore partying and beer bongs and taking shots for the next 10 years, the audience would have faded out. So Kyle's got to build some of that into his world too, and it's good for them, and it's good for him personally.
I agree. I think, yeah, I mean, to your point, when I was in high school, everyone used to go on, I guess this is right when YouTube was starting to get big, people would go on I'm Schmacked, if you remember that YouTube channel at all.
Yeah.
That's where they would post party. You'd look at different schools, see where had the coolest parties or whatever. But even nowadays, I mean, I think some of these influencers have a bit of a responsibility too, when they have to, balance, to your point, the branding and building a business and empire versus like, hey, like if some of these guys could jump their audience of millions of followers, say how high. But I think one of the cool things, just to, put a final pin in the point about Kyle, I also have a Whoop. I love my Whoop band. And he posted a thing about the fitness challenge saying, hey, come follow along with my journey if you have a Whoop. So I jumped in. There's 75,000 people in this Whoop group that just go and post their workouts and talk about their stuff. And I'm like, this is one guy that isn't even, I go walk down the street and I talk to one in every 10 people, maybe one every 100 people, maybe 5 people would know who Kyle is.
Yeah, for sure.
And his Whoop group has 75,000 people in it.
It's nuts. And also, if you think about the fact that his brand was built on partying and raging and all that. And yet he that easily pulls people into the Whoop group. That's because a lot of the people that were already following him, they may be partying, but they're also being pulled into this new world of health and wellness. And so they're balancing it. And so it's easy for him to say, hey guys, let's do the Whoop group. And a bunch of his people are like, oh yeah, I thought he was funny because, they go to, all these different schools and party, but oh, I have a Whoop too, and he's doing that now, so I'm going to jump in the group. I mean, it's like a balancing act for people.
Yeah, 100%. Now, as we close out here, I mean, one of the things I thought that was interesting you said earlier was when you were, getting into the early days of sobriety was thinking about what you would do in situations like weddings and parties and celebrations. What's interesting to me is, again, and I heard this on some podcast, but it's human nature, right? The worry and the hope to be accepted is purely a matter of survival. It is instinctual. It is primal in us, because if you're accepted, you had protection in your tribe or community. There's so many different people I've heard talk about this and talk about the science behind it. So to that end, all anyone's looking for in any given moment or any given day is community and acceptance, because that's how we're able to continue on as a species. And so that very high level tee up there is to talk about, to your point about the community you bring together at the bars and restaurants that you have now with Bash Boxing. Have you thought about, or are you thinking about the future of what community looks like in a, blend of maybe not a fitness class that you can't bring your grandparents to or your newborn to, but also not a bar like A-Town? I've heard, or even maybe it is just more tailored towards the health and wellness community, like a group. There's a bunch of these like bath, what do you call them? Like Russian baths in New York where you go and it's like spas and stuff. I feel like those are going to continue to grow and grow because people are going to want to go and, hey, I'm going to go do the cold plunge with my friends for 10 minutes. And then we're going to go to the sauna for 45 minutes. And then we're going to get a smoothie afterwards. I feel like we're going to see a lot of businesses like that. I joked on a previous podcast, you always hear people talk about how important, early sunlight exposure is. I think we're going to see a business model in the next couple of years where you go and you rent space to sit around a campfire inside somewhere, outside somewhere, because, again, that primal tribal sense. Long-winded way of saying, what do you see the next couple of years look like for, the restaurant, bar, community-oriented spaces that you're in now?
Yeah, I think it's a great question and a tough question. And I agree with what you're saying. I think about this place I went to in New York City, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a giant meditation space. I mean, it's right in like the middle of the city, but it was like almost as big as a gymnasium. Oh, cool. And I did a group-led meditation class in there, and there had to be 150 people in there, right? And then there's a giant lobby area. So after it's over, everyone comes out of the meditation space, and now some people are going to the juice bar, some people are going to the book area, some people are sitting down on a beanbag and talking and sharing ideas. I mean, I think what I think a lot about along that same vein more than anything is I just hope there are I hope there are enough people, human to human experiences like that and group experiences like that. And it doesn't all just go online. That's what I worry about, is that just people stop interacting in person, because just like, with this whole work from home thing, and a lot of companies are saying, we're not getting the same collaboration that we get when people are face to face. We're not getting the same synergy. The energy doesn't feel the same. We're not as productive. I think that's the case. And I liked your campfire example a lot, renting a campfire. I see things like, one of the big business trends I see that's really easy, small startup business is the picnic trend, where there's these picnic companies now where you can pay me and I'll meet you and your friends, let's say by, for a DC example, let's say I'll meet you by the National Monument, and I'll set up a picnic for 15 people, and it'll have all the cute picnic stuff and marshmallow, whatever it is, different food bites and stuff. And now you and your friends can come and meet up and be outside and get some vitamin D and have a holistic experience. And so where it goes with restaurants and bars, I don't know. I mean, I can't even envision. I wonder a lot about the nightclub space, which is a space I've never fully been in. I've more been on bars, but how are they going to make it? If people really do slowly stop drinking, are they just going to make the experience more immersive through technology and visual and music? And so you can either take mushrooms when you go there, or drug, whatever, and go there and still have this amazing experience and dance and not have alcohol. I don't know. And I think restaurants is the same thing. It's a very curious time with restaurants where I could be sitting right here where I am and get, hit a button on a phone and get food from any restaurant around here driven straight to me. Why do I still need to go to the restaurant? And what am I getting out of that experience? And to your point on Bronson, hopefully that's why places like Bronson work, because there's a giant table and you can fit 12 to 14 people at it. And now we're all sitting around this same giant table conversing with each other, as opposed to, a bar where, we're standing around and, now there's 3 people out of our crowd, out of our dozen people that don't drink, and they're just kind of standing there. Well, maybe Bronson feels a lot better because they're sitting down and they can eat pretzels and still be part of the group and be part of the chatter with how it goes. And I really don't know, man. I think a lot about, my partners and how long our leases are. Some of our leases are not going to end for, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so if we live through that, if alcohol does really decrease in that time, well, 5 or 6 years from now, even our places that are uber successful, let's take a Don Tito, for example. Don Tito has been super successful for coming up on 9 years now. And, it's not as busy as it once was, but it's still really busy and does really well. What if we were to re-sign the Don Tito lease for 10 more years, and 7 or 8 years from now, alcohol's down 50% in young people? How are we going to make it? I don't know. I think a lot about that stuff all the time. But I think you bring up a great point about the campfire thing. I think people would be wise to try to find unique experiences that they can rent out to people. Another example that I think of that's like that is the igloos you see in the wintertime where, hey, a restaurant,
Right.
yeah, restaurant has a patio and, it's cold, so we're going to rent you an igloo. And now you go into the igloo and it's different. It's cool. And you and your friends are in the igloo. And now the restaurant's provided some unique experience. I think people are going to have to get creative and come up with new stuff. And I'm interested to see where it goes.
Absolutely. And I know you'll be one of those people coming up with the creative solutions there. But no, Scott, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm appreciative of, your honesty and feedback and insight into your brands and businesses. For those who want to follow you and get in touch with you, what's the best place to find you, Scott?
Yeah, my Instagram is just my name, Scott Parker. And then my website is scottparkerbrands.com. It's always evolving. It's always changing. There's, like you said, there's new stuff going on my website that we're opening. There's old stuff that didn't work or imploded or exploded and that failed that's coming off the website. But yeah, my Instagram is just at Scott Parker. And I appreciate the opportunity, man. I knew we were going to talk small business, but I'll walk away from this conversation really inspired too with some new ideas and excited that we got to talk about the future of all this stuff. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All
Take
right,
care.
Yep.
Hey, thanks so much.